Hello, hello. This is Paper Cuts Included coming to you live from the Ninja Turtle sleeping blanket, and that's how we keep it legit. Today, we're going to be looking at the first half of The Walking Dead Volume 1. Why the first half? Because I don't want to talk for an hour and a half. Our last big video was about an hour long, and my voice was going out by that hour mark. So, we're going to look at the first half today. If you're new to the channel, this is a comic book YouTube channel. What do we do here? We get books like this and talk about them, not just talk about the story or what do we think, what are the deeper meanings of Rick saying coral. We look at the art, we dissect the art, we talk about the artist, the history of the artist, history of the book, the impact of the book. you know and it's ran by me and my co-host. We're both working artists, and we just give our 2 cents as a working artist into the books themselves. So if that's something you're interested in, we are inspired by the great cartoonist kayfabe. So if you're familiar to that channel, we're going to try to do a very similar style to them. So that sounds like something you'll like. Stick around, and if you like what you see, please subscribe. Please watch the end of the video. That really helps us out. We are at 52 subscribers right now. Woo! That's awesome. I hope that didn't sound facetious. Thanks for everyone who's been watching. We've recently just hit 100 hours of watch time on the channel. That's even more insane that people have spent 100 hours watching me and my co-host talk about books. So we're going to talk about the first half of it. But before that, I want to show off some of the stuff I bought today. We do pickup videos on this channel. It's real quick. For all my Pokemon fans out there, I bought the Ursaluna set, where you get this jumbo card in 4 packs. I pulled some cards I needed for a deck I'm working, so I was really excited about that. And here's an art piece I'm working on right now. I showed this off in the tracing paper video I just did, and the process did work. If you watch that video, you'll know what it means. I just rubbed the tracing paper over. Here it is. I'll just show it to you. Rub the tracing paper on the block. Boom! I have a reusable master copy. So I'm working on it. I'm gonna give updates on every video we do until it's done. So hopefully by next video it's done. Hopefully this doesn't just sit on a shelf. So let's get into the book finally. I'm sure everyone knows The Walking Dead, but if you're not, it's a really good zombie book, at least the parts I've read. I've never finished it. I usually do a reread about every other year, and I get a little bit further each time, but right now I'm um, right when the governor strikes back. The last panel where he's riding in a tank, coming to beat them up at the prison. Um, I think it's a good book. Not one I'm like, oh, it's one of the best books ever. It's not in my top 10. It might be in my top 25. I love the first volume, mostly because of the artist, Tony Moore. I really like Tony Moore. I think he's a really good artist. He has this like cartoonish style that I like a lot. He also did Fear Agent. I really like Fear Agent, and we need to talk about Fear Agent more on this channel because I like it a lot, and I guarantee you no one knows what Fear Agent is. It is Dale Gribble from King of the Hill in space as a exterminator. It's wonderful. But no, let's get into it. One of the cool things with these trades, though, is you can line them up and the zombies will match. So if you put volume 2, this head will match with it continues. But let's get into it. Very, very early on the channel, we did a look at issue 1. Very, very, probably in our first 10 videos. So it would be neat to compare what I say in this versus what I say with that, with almost, a year difference. Where is, here's my pen tool, so I can just point at stuff. Excuse me. Something about Tony Moore I like a lot that might not make sense is the way he uses panel work. Very grid, very standard. I think it really helps tie the book together. Sorry. It just gives it this unified look. I think it's very iconic to the book. There's not a whole lot of circle panels, triangle panels. They're not getting weirdly Todd McFarlane in it. Instead, it's, this very standard square format. And to me, I think parts of this book are really strong as a silent book. We'll talk about that more when we get there. But I think this could be a good silent page. There's not a whole lot of dialogue, but we could probably tell what happened without the text. Two cops are pinned down, they're firing, one goes to move, Shane gets his gun blown away, and then Rick gets shot. If there was no text here, I think it would still read really good, you know? And it'd also be a really good one-page piece of art. If you're not a comic book artist, but you're more of a, artist, this would be a good page. I'd see that submitted in a gallery. I went to art school, but not a comic art school. I went to a just art school. So, they did try to teach us more of that gallery setting, and I can tell you this would be one that would be in a gallery. I think, shown in an AMFA show, or not AMFA, BFA show. I think so. But no, yeah. Again, we see this, that grid pattern, but they're not straight lines. They are curved. The gutters are not straight up and down; they're curved. The actual grid lines are bold, which I think is really cool. Like I said, I think it's very iconic to the book. It's something I always remember about, not necessarily the story, but the tools that Tony Moore used to create this book. Also having it in gray, pretty cool. I think there's colored versions now, right, of the first couple issues that Image did, or am I just thinking the Turtles? I might just be thinking the Turtles. Um, but no, Rick wakes up in a hospital after getting shot. He's calling for people, no one's coming, but we're not wasting time. If this was a modern comic, he'd be sending 2 pages being like, "Oh, I think I got shot. Oh, I miss my wife so much." But instead, bam, third page, we see a corpse. And I think next page, and then page, was it one, or this is the fourth page, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sixth page, we see a zombie, but I'm getting too ahead of myself. Just a great little not action, but moving the story along really well without wasting time. Because this book didn't get that many copies made of it. I think it's one of the lower printed books. That's why it's so one of the reasons it got so expensive. Probably still is expensive. And this is, they probably didn't know if this book was going to sell good, so they're not wasting, page here, page there, explaining his inner thoughts. Right? He's going out of the hospital, or the room. He's confused why no one's there. Opens an elevator, bam, corpse. What's going on? Well, this book's called The Walking Dead, so 6 panels go by. He opens this cafeteria door. What a great, zombie page. Am I right? They're really selling The Walking Dead. Maggots, flies coming from the walkers, the flesh exposed, those bare teeth, organs and bodies on the cafeteria tables, which I think is a pretty nice touch. We're not wasting time. Even him not even questioning it, just trying to run away. He's not saying, "Oh my God, what's happening? What's happening?" It's full on. It's going fast. He's not wasting time. I think that's really cool. When you're doing a book, sometimes you don't have time to waste, but try it 10 different ways. Do a 2 page segment where there is a lot of dialogue, see how that works. If you like it, does it flow nice? And then do a version where there's not a whole lot of dialogue. See what works, see what you like better. There is no right or wrong to making a book. The process, you gotta trust it. Trust the process. And now he's at the hospital. We spent maybe 5 pages in the hospital, and he's walking away now. That's smart. Don't waste all the time in the hospital. They easily could have. They could have spent this whole first issue of him trying to figure out how to get out. What if all the doors were locked? Then he has to bust one open, dealing with that zombie threat. That might be a cool story though. But we're not doing that. We're not wasting time. We're leaving the hospital, getting to probably one of the most iconic scenes in the comic / show. A walker so emaciated, skeletons. It's cool. And this is where it can be another silent, this could just be no text, right? It reads so well. We all know what zombies are. We all know what monsters are, but even if we didn't know what zombies were, let's say, this is the first ever zombie book. There's no zombies ever. If there's no text, we're still reading that something's going on. The maggots, the flies, the organs on the table. It does sell that these are not creatures of good. You know what I mean? And if this works as a silent what, there's barely any text in it, and I think that's really cool. I could argue that a lot of this could be a silent book, and I like that quality. I do like silent books a lot. What we talked about one pretty recently on the channel. Trying to remember what it was, where it was a silent book. I don't remember. I'll have to think back. Um, but no, yet again here, there didn't need to be text here. What he said, there's 2 speech bubbles on this page, 2 on that page, and it doesn't need it. It without it, I don't think it's losing a whole lot. And also for the next page, I just think that's really cool. And I think silent books are underrated. I think a lot of people don't do them anymore. This isn't a silent book, obviously, but I think it could really work as one. You know, so yeah, that's my 2 cents on it. I don't know where I was going with that. Um, Yet again, I love these. He does this 6-panel layout a lot, and that's something that I would like to use, or I'm trying to use, is figure out your composition work. This works really good. Figure out how that can work. Frank Miller does something similar to Ronin. I don't remember the magic number, and it might be, it's not 3 or 4, is it? But no, some artists have, you know, oh, not Dave Stewart, that's a colorist. But oh crap, who did DC the New Frontier, Justice League New Frontier? Every page is 3 panels, just 3 about that size. This panel about that size, probably a little bit smaller. So figuring out how you want a compositional do your book is very important. Excuse me. You can't just draw, 10 different squares on a page and call it a comic. It's not going to flow good. It's not going to flow good at all. In my studio class this year, we had to create a work of art, a series, not a book series, but a series. And I did prints on growing up in small town America. Whereas one student in the class did try to do a comic book, who had never done comic books before, had never read a comic book, did not own a comic book, and they didn't know how to do panels, so it just didn't read good. They would do one giant panel in the corner, and then the rest of the page were smaller panels, and it didn't flow good. The text, if your composition doesn't work, it's not going to read good, and you have to have your comic read good. A modern audience, or probably not just modern, if they flip to a book and it doesn't, let's say it's their first time ever looking at your book, they see it at a comic book store, it's got a cool cover, so they're going to pick it up. And one of the things is, you know um they can flip to a random page, and if it reads bad, they might put it down and never give your book a second chance again. And you gotta sell your books. You gotta pay your rent, keep your lights on, buy you some new pencils. So making sure your composition is good, so every page can be easily readable, and it'll keep people flipping through it as they stand at that newsstand. Very important to do, and something not easy. You need to study it. No one's going to just be a master of drawing squares, drawing panels, So study it. Look at 10 different artists, 100 different artists, 1,000 different artists. See how they do their panels, see what works, see what doesn't, figure out what you like. That's also, you need to figure out what you like. Do you like this 6 panel layout? Do you hate it? Do you think it's so minuscule that it should be only, why am I saying 6? That's 9. Oops. But I guess I could say, do you hate 9 and just want to do 6 and just make that bigger? Or do you or do you just hate all of it and you want every page to be a splash page? Like that. I've seen artists do that. I can't think of any author. Or the Silent City, Sin City Deadly Night, Frank Miller book. I believe every page is just one piece of art. I think so. So that's important. Figure out what compositions you want to do, because that can make or break your book. Well, no, just more great environmental storytelling. What do I mean by environmental? The environment is telling us the story. We don't have to read a dialogue. We don't have to read a monologue. We're seeing that the streets are littered, the houses, windows are broken, and it is selling that this is a dystopian world. He's riding a bicycle, for God's sakes. We're Americans, we hate exercising. So, it's got to be dystopian if you're riding a bicycle. The yards are unkept. I think that's a really nice touch. One of the critiques. I watched the show probably for the first 3 seasons. I also stopped watching the show when the prison happened. Once they kind of left the prison, I stopped. I don't know. I just probably found something I liked more. I guess I was probably in middle school when it came out, or when the prison arc came out. So, you know, just wasn't interested. But I digress. One of the things I see is for dystopian books, the yards are always cut. Who's cutting those yards? But here they're overgrown, and that's just nice. A nice thing to remember when doing a dystopian book. If you're going to show houses, their yards are going to be unkept. It gets whacked on the head, but we're not going to waste time on a dream sequence. We're meeting the first other humans post, the apocalypse, and this is our dialogue section. This is where it gets a little wordy, and I think if I like the silent part so much that I hate the spoon fed dialogue, and that's what I call it, because we're getting the whole synopsis. What's going on? Oh, it's a zombie apocalypse. Haven't you heard? Oh, well, where's my family? Oh, well, they're probably in a bigger city. Oh, well, I have to get there. I just don't like that in storytelling. I think that's one of the weaker parts of this first volume is everything so spoon fed. What's going on? It's zombies. Why? We don't know. And I just don't like that. I love the silent parts, like this environmental storytelling. I love that so much. I think that's this book's one of the greatest strengths and one of the things I remember the most. And I wish we just had more of that. It's been the first issue of just Rick being alone, and I would love it. If most of the series was like that, if the series was Rick trying to find his family for the majority of the book, I would probably read a lot more than every other year. And I own a single issue of reprint, but I don't remember where it ends. Does it already end with him finding his family? How does that work? But no, but Morgan and I believe it's Dwayne. I don't remember. Just spoon feeding the dialogue. I don't like that, but whatever. Um, I guess I should talk about the art more. I've just talked about the composition and the story. Tony Moore's art style, very minimalistic in a way. Like these houses, the walls are that solid gray. There is a painting to, so he's not just in a void, but it's a very minimalistic painting. A lot of times with the figures, they're they they don't get lost because what they're standing in front of. Like here, both the characters they're not in front of the fire, they're actually in front of these blank walls. And you can do that without color. If this was colored, they might get a little lost because they're so zoomed out. But Tony Moore is utilizing those gray tones to use the highlights in Rick's shirt, the highlights in Morgan's shirt, to bring them out and separate them from the background, using the lighting of the fire. And here Rick's just in a black void, and that works. You kind of just get to look at him more. Look how he's just wearing a white T-shirt with probably blood and dirt on it. With the key being highlighted. So it's like, oh, there's a key. Where does the key unlock? This police station. But on the flip side, when Tony Moore does want to show detail, he's really good at it. He's great at drawing this car, the bricks, the broken windows. He's a great environmental artist. But he's also really good at playing up that minimalistic aspect to bring the characters out. Where we're studying the character more, we're seeing how he looks. We're going to memorize how he looks. And I wish Tony Moore stayed on the book for longer than he did. I believe this might be the only volume he's in because allegedly he was too slow, and Kirkman, the creator and the writer, kicked him off and brought in someone else. I don't remember their name. But their art's okay. It's really gritty and really dark, which it's a zombie apocalypse. But I'd really love to see an alternate reality where Tony Moore stays on for the entire series. What does Negan look like in this art style? What do some of those scenes look like? I guess the Negan scene. What does Glenn look like in this art style, getting his brain bashed in? You know what I mean? But see, look, another gray void with not a whole lot of panels. He's not flooding the page with 20 panels at a time, which I've seen some artists do. He's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. six, and then one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. I've seen if they're the same count, but very very limited panels, and it keeps the story going. Like I said, he might have not known if he was going to get a issue two, so he's making sure to move along, and using limited panels, he kind of has to do that. A good test to do, and something we did in art school, is the three panel test. Tell a story in three panels. It's gonna be a lot harder than you think, but do it. If anyone's listening to it, oh my god, yeah, if anyone's listening to it, do a three panel test. See how it works. Can you tell a story in three panels? Where do you struggle at? And work from there. Work your way up. And once you master that, do 5 panels. Do 6 panels. See how long you can keep doing it. You know what I mean? And look, this is probably one of the most iconic looks in zombie media is Rick's sheriff look. The leather jacket, the big cowboy hat that, or I guess patrolman hat that Carl will get. Very iconic look. But I don't know how it it's iconic for this book, but I feel like it's lost in other media. This book does not have very iconic looking characters besides probably Negan with Lucille. And I think that's another weakness for the book. Well, I guess it's not a superhero book, so of course you're not going to have a Batman silhouette. It's very grounded. But let's say that this was, like a superhero book, something. You have to have your character stand out. One of the things you can do is the silhouette test. You know, do your figure in a silhouette. If people know who he is, and that means you made a good character. The silhouette test. People always use Mickey Mouse. We all know who Mickey Mouse is, and if your character can get guessed like that, you designed your character good. And there's a bunch of ways you can do that: the shape, proportions, clothing, body language. Is your how does your character stand? Is he always standing upright, or is he always leaning? That's important to designing a character. What's their posture like? People don't think about that, but that's something you need to remember in doing a book. Is your characters are your characters. I always I love designing characters because it's like, oh, well, this character did this, before the book happened. This character likes this. This character hates this. This is the character's motivations. I love doing that in comic books. It's probably a lot funner than drawing those characters, because it's just playing like we were when kids, pretending, oh, I'm Superman on the playground, and Superman will always fight for good. I can design characters and pretend like I'm doing that again. But back to the book. This is probably less of a Walking Dead look at and just more of a personal art look at, but hey, maybe that's pretty cool. Um, but no, just great body language too. That they're not Rick's, walking. I love this pose right here. I think that's a really cool pose. I'm probably gonna have to swipe that. That's a good Casey Jones pose. With that can be a hockey bag or a golf bag full of stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna have to draw that now. And here's another good look at the. I love Tony Moore's zombies. This touch of the zombie's lip getting caught, or not caught, but getting pushed up by the chain link fence. That's a really cool gimmick, or addition. I like that a lot. And now we're leaving the town. If this was a Marvel book or DC book, it's been probably like 2-3 issues. Something bad would happen to Morgan, and then Rick leaves. Instead, they get their gear, go on their separate ways, and I know Morgan comes back in the show, but does he come back in the books? I have no idea. One of the few things I'm wondering about this book is why don't they just go back to this town? We did look at this armory. Look at all those guns, all the equipment, and it's a small town. Surely there wasn't a whole lot of zombies in it. If Morgan and his kid can survive, for a while, why don't Rick and Co. just come back here? Pretty sure they could take it. That's just something I've always thought about. If there's some lore reason why they don't come back, let me know in the comments. I know what they say, it's a 5-hour drive, so I guess that is a pretty big distance. I don't know. But no, what's Rick do while leaving the town? I love this panel. That perspective. We are seeing more dystopian. Zombies everywhere. All the window or the not all the windows, all the buildings are getting disheveled. I just love that. I'm gonna have to play around with more. I'm working on a Fallout zine with my co-host, so this book is definitely gonna have some inspiration on some of the environments I do, which I'm hoping I start a new Fallout New Vegas playthrough soon. But try hardcore mode. I've never done hardcore mode, so we'll see. But another very, very iconic thing in the book is he puts this poor walker out of its misery. You know, I guess almost like an acceptance of this is the world now. This is what I have to do. But Rick is a great fish out of water for these. He does kind of stop being a fish out of water. I guess there's not a whole lot of being a fish out of water. It's not like a sci-fi book where you can excuse things always being new. This is a zombie apocalypse. There's not going to be a whole lot new, rather just surviving. you know. But in these first couple issues, he is always getting shocked of, the carnage that's happened. And I think a lot of that's the Tony Moore art style itself. He loves these. He's a really good facial artist, very expressive when he does art. Like in these, we definitely tell all the pain that Rick's having. The tear, the singular tear. I also love how the gutters are black because it's nighttime. I think that's a really nice touch. You lose it here, but he didn't want to just do one black and then the rest white. But I do think that's a very nice touch. And he's killing someone, or killing a walker, however you want to see that. So very, somber, dark. And this is silent. I love that. I just love that gimmick. But no, great one pager. Is that where the story ends? I wonder if this is where the first issue ends. This page. Maybe. I don't know. We're going to keep going, though. We're going to look at the first half of this book and then probably next Friday finish it off. That's the plan. Or maybe do take a week break in between. I don't know. But no, what a great... I'm sure this has to be where the second issue started. I'm sure of it. What a great car. And I don't know. When Tony Moore shows off his art skills, I really like it. He's a really good artist. I think probably in the top 10 most underrated artist, in my opinion. Hopefully he hasn't done something crazy that I don't know about. And I don't know. But no, car breaks down. He's walking through. And we're going to lead to another iconic thing in The Walking Dead soon. Um, another very, very iconic, or just something I always remember is the family who unfortunately, I guess, deletes themselves. I don't know if I can say the other word on YouTube, or I guess harms themselves might be a better way to say it. And some people are like, why don't you just say it? But I've seen videos get taken down for saying that word. Hopefully just showing that done. But again, look at all the very expressive. I love it when he's showing this expression, So if you're someone who wants to have more expressive figures, look at some Tony Moore artwork. Look at some Fear Agent. Look at this first volume of The Walking Dead. I think that's one of his bigger strengths and something I wish more people would talk about. But no, what's the iconic thing? He gets a horse and his famous hatchet. Rides off into the sunset maybe. No, not the sunset. He's getting to Atlanta. What a great, environmental. I love this panel so much. Just all the. I wonder where all the cars are, though. I think there'd be cars everywhere. That's only discredit. But these buildings, they're so minimalistic, but look so real. They look very good in that style, very sketchy. It's like his environmental storytelling has a sketchiness to it. I like that a lot in art. While he's going, passing more and more very unique zombies. You can't say a Tony Moore zombie. Two of them look the same. They're very different body proportions, very different clothing. Don't do same face syndrome or same person syndrome. And he doesn't. He makes sure all his zombies are in some different way of decay in a different outfit. It's very cool to see. Excuse me. But no, another great splash page with a very good perspective. We're doing it behind, showing off the horse, the figure. These the perspective of the buildings looks so good. The atmospheric perspective of the buildings and the zombies in the back, very minimalistic, but it works. That hand, that's just bone. That hand's been chewed on a little bit. Very nice touch because someone could have just done a full hand, right? But yet we're selling that decaying look, you know. And a great little 4 page. Tony Moore, great composition artist. I'm gonna keep saying that. I know I've been saying that a lot. We looked at Frank Frazetta book the other day with some incredible compositional work. Definitely check that video out if you haven't. It's our longest video to date, and I worked really hard on it. Um, but no, Tony Moore's just, and that expression, like his expressiveness, his environmental storytelling, his compositional work. This is why I love this first volume so much. And if the whole series was like this, would probably be in my top 10 books of all time. But yet it's only this first volume, I think. So, and I don't like the art style that it turns into, the dark, the gritty. You know, I don't like it that much. I love this one so much more, and some people don't notice it. When I was in middle school reading it for the first time, I didn't notice, but now it's, there's a reason I only have this volume and don't have any other volume of The Walking Dead. I used to have the first 8, but I sold all of them but this one. Or I think I might have sold all 8, and then I wanted this one back, so I bought it back. But look at all these zombies, right? Some don't have noses. Some have noses. You can tell that different hairstyle. This guy's probably got straw hair. We got a blonde. A businesswoman. It that's a fear agent panel right there. I think he might have swiped his own panel. Um, but no, this is where it gets a little hectic. It's a very, look at that panel to these two right there. It's very different from what we've seen from them so far. But it's it's supposed to be like that. It's a, there's probably hundreds of walkers trying to eat them. So I do think it's very, on purpose, that this is very, very, very chaotic. You know what I mean? And it works there. You get that sense of, is Rick about to die? Of course not. He's our main character. And then we go back to standard Tony Moore panel work. Very orderly, very square. Not a whole lot on the panel. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So still, doing limited panels, but yet, um, making it seem chaotic. And you can do that as an artist. You can still, have an orderly book, but have a chaotic couple pages. It might not, but do it in a way that still reads good. Because your audience, they'll pick up on that subconsciously. They'll be like, oh crap, it's stuff's going on. Look at all the zombies down there. Like I said, one doesn't have a shirt on. One's a businessman. One looks like a drifter. Draw in a sketchbook. Draw a figure every day. Study clothes. Study. This does one. There should be different levels of people in your book. For instance, the guys who drive a Porsche aren't probably going to be wearing hoodies. They're Wall Street Porsche drivers. Draw a guy who rides the subway. You know, a guy who only bikes. A guy who does drive. Drawing figures like that, it's going to help you fill out a book or figure out how your character is going to act. What a great! I always love when the people are jumping. Figuring out, I always wonder how people are going to depict people jumping from one, you know, building to the building. Because some people do a side view of them jumping, whereas Tony Moore is doing a from the ground, or not completely the ground, probably a few feet, or probably about a dozen feet below where they're jumping from. See, look, there's a silhouette test. All I see is a Star Wars character. You know what I mean? Like, very iconic for this book. If him and Glenn were in silhouette, you know who they are. But if this wasn't, Tony Moore might be in some trouble. I love this little zombie. He's like, oh, I don't know. I just think that's pretty funny. Um, let's talk about Glenn for a second and his design. Very different from Rick, and he's just great at drawing very expressive, the human figure in the face. He can make his characters look very, very, very different. We know that Glenn, he looks very scrawny. We're gonna look. He's wearing a Yankees hat. You know, and I think it sells really good here that he's scrawny, and we get that with these cheekbones. The face, instead of Rick's square face, it's pointed, and that's something I think people forget about is faces are shapes. Figure out what shape you're going to make your character. Is he going to be a rigid square? Is it going to be a scrawny triangle? What does a circle look like? To me, circles are always evil. Like Kingpin from Daredevil. I always think of it as a circle. Bill Sienkiewicz probably did not help that any. But no, this might be issue 2, and what? Oh, he finds his family. I don't like all the text. You've heard me say I like the silent storytelling, you know. And this is when I love the first volume, but this is when it starts. Like this is why I don't finish The Walking Dead. See, a confused look. What a great confused look. Everyone's, one guy's stuffing his face. Shane's confused. This guy's confused. Again, if you want to figure out how to draw emotions, look at some Tony Moore books. Yeah. For some reason, I was like, oh crap, his name's Tony Moore, right? Yeah, of course it is. I'm bad about second guessing myself some days. So, man, have I been talking into the mic wrong this whole time? Hopefully the audio's good. I need to get better about the audio quality for a lot of this stuff. But no, we reunite with Shane already, and here's more, dialogue. Oh, who's who? What's this gang gonna look like? Well, the gang's gonna change pretty fast. I love this panel. Look how gaunt Rick is. We can tell that it's almost like that 100-mile stare. He's using the shade to show off them cheekbones, very, very gaunt, and it adds to the no background. That I haven't had time to be scared. Very powerful. Very good piece, very good standalone. If you blew this up, got rid of that panel perhaps, and just did that, it would translate really good. I think it'd be a really, really strong piece of art. Sometimes that's what you need to figure out when you're doing a comic book or just art in general. Does it work on its own? If you not blew out, blew up, and all these panels individually, how do they look? Do they fall flat? You know, do they work good on their own? Do they have to have that part, the panel above or below to make them work? That's something we all can do as artists. You can use scanners to do that. You can do tracing paper to do that, which I should have talked about that in my tracing paper video. Huh. But it is, what's going to work, what doesn't. I think this is a really good standalone piece, very powerful. And sometimes you need to figure out, it's probably not a surprise this is the last panel on the page. And that's another thing you got to figure out. How are you going to do your panels? If this was the top panel, probably wouldn't be that powerful. But since this is about to be a page turner, I dropped my pen. Oh no, my pen, my tool. Oh, there it is. Um, it's very important to know where you're going to put your panels. When you turn the page, how your panel is going to look. We get this really good, really well read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 page spread of Rick waking up and being happy that he's got his family again. And now we get some Rick Shane Power Hour stuff. I did watch the show first. When the show came out, I might have been in elementary school actually, so I didn't know there was a comic book. And if I guess I did because I watched Comic Book Men at the time, and one of the first episodes that had a Walking Dead #1. But there was no way my parents wouldn't let me get the book since it was rated M. That was like their big thing, and I probably would have liked it a lot more as a kid. I might have been the first series I collected because I do like it. I've liked what I've read a lot, and maybe one day I will finish it. Just all this dialogue. Like I said, if it didn't have such great environmental storytelling and silent parts, if those parts sucked, I probably wouldn't mind all this dialogue. But since it has so much, and that the previously mentioned environmental storytelling so good, I just want to see more of that. I need to do a book like that where it's just all environmental storytelling. That'd be cool. Maybe for the Fallout scene. I am doing a 2-pager for that. A funny 2-pager I need to get back on. But no, it's just dialogue, 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 dialogue. The art's still really good. Tony Moore doesn't, skimp out on the art when he's doing that. It, you know what I mean? It still looks good. Or he stays consistent. He's not skimping out on corners. And see, again, a lack of background really brings out the figure. If you blew that up, really good piece. Blew that up, really good piece. And I do feel like the gray tones are part of that. Maybe there is an alternate reality where The Walking Dead was colored for every issue. I wonder how that would look. Maybe it is already. I don't freaking know. What a great little zombie panel. We're seeing those bones pop out. We're seeing, all the decay. I really like Tony Moore's zombies. That might be my favorite thing he does in The Walking Dead. Is his zombies are so cool looking, and whereas I feel like a lot of zombie books just make stumbling people with a little, their teeth are sticking out a little bit. You know what I mean? But here, I think his art just really, really, really shows off what he can do. And that deer looks really, really good too. He must have looked at a deer. You know, all the muscles look good. The neck muscles. He probably had to figure out. Although, how did the friggin' zombie catch a deer? Was this deer already dead? This deer had to be dead already. There's no way this zombie just they shuffle. They don't run. But like this would be good. You don't need text here. This could be silent, and that's why I really, or you could probably just have it starting from there. Really good, and I love that in this book. I want there to be more of it. Now I want to do a little bit more of a reread to see if the other artist kind of follows that. If the other artist can really do some good environmental storytelling, because that's something that needs to happen in these dystopian books. You got to show the environment, what's going on or what hasn't been going on. Are the yards overgrown? Are the cars broken down? What's going on? So we probably will do a little quick reread. Maybe I'll read the second volume. Once Tony Moore's gone and compare the two. That will happen. That sounds like a good idea. Good idea, me. But no, these pages could have been silent too, which is really good. Really good zombie effect. Really good decapitation effect. Hopefully YouTube doesn't get mad at me for showing that. Um, you know, I love that. I love how expressive Tony Moore can be. He's just got this unique look that. Oh, it's so good. Now I just want to reread Fear Agent too. Now we're definitely gonna look at some Fear Agent. I need to get a trade of it. I thought I did, but I don't think I do. But no, that's the first half of I guess we looked at the first two issues because I bet this is where issue 3 starts. Yeah, that's the first two issues of The Walking Dead, or the first half of The Walking Dead. Takeaways from it: very great environmental storytelling, really expressive on the figures, great zombies, phenomenal zombie artwork. If you like zombie art and you want to look at an artist, look at the go buy this. This is probably still at every bookstore that's always in print. It's, what, $10? Yeah, $10. It's probably 15 now with inflation. But no, this is always one of the cheaper trades to get. It's probably why I bought it back instead of never getting it again, because I'm a stickler about trades. I don't like how expensive trades are. But no, if you like expressive artwork, you like zombies, you really like environmental storytelling, check out this book, check out this volume. Perhaps see how it devolves, or maybe it evolves once the other artist, and we'll definitely look at that now. We probably will do a week break in between the next look at, so this will be in 2 weeks. We'll look at this one again. Or do you guys really, really, really want me to look at it next week? I don't know. I'll figure something out. I probably will look at it next week. I don't know. Thanks for watching though. If you made it to the end, it means a lot to me, and to my co-host. Watch the end. Helps the algorithm pump these videos out to more and more people who might like this style of content. We post every Wednesday and Friday right now, and sometimes more, never less. We've been doing awesome. We're at 52 subscribers right now, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. We're at 52. I want to make it to 60 before summer, or by summer, I should say. And so, what, 8 subscribers away? I think we can do it. Heck, if we get to 100, we're going to have to celebrate somehow. But no, thanks for watching it. If there's any books you want me to look at specifically, comment down below. We're definitely going to have to look at a specific Swamp Thing book by Toddlebin that I saw someone get, and put my 2 cents in the hat about that book. But no, thanks for watching, and from Paper Cuts Included to you guys, make more art.